It's all in their mind. How many movies we have to
Why?
watch where it's all in their head?
Oh God, I don't know. We'll talk about it. I'll give them what for. I think it's funny that I like worse. Well, we'll talk about it.
We're recording anyways.
Oh shit! Nice. I'm sure the
What's up, everyone? Yeah. We're just discussing the little movie that we just saw called Last Shift from 2014.
that's right.
And welcome to Cinematic Suffering. Hello,
Hey,
everyone.
everybody.
We are back once again.
I think there.
Clay's having he needs to get the right angles so the light's hitting his chiseled cheekbones just right.
I don't remember getting shorter, but maybe old age is setting in prematurely.
You're shrinking my fan.
I lost some height.
Yeah, so we are Cinematic Suffering. Okay, I guess start off. We were just kind of bullshitting back and forth about the movie here a few seconds ago. But Clay, can you clue us in on what the fuck we just watched?
I would love to. As you mentioned, Last Shift. It's the exhilarating 2014 horror film helmed by Anthony de Blasi, written by de Blasi and Scott Poyley. And Juliana Poyley. Yeah, I knew you'd do that. Poyley. Juliana Harkavy, who some of you may recognize from The Walking Dead. I didn't, because I stopped watching the show around the time she was on there, I believe, is the star of this preeminent feature, starring her fellow acting heavyweights such as Joshua McKell, Hank Stone, which is a cool name. You got to hand it to Hank.
Yeah.
Jay LaRose plays the homeless guy who pees everywhere. We'll definitely get to him. Pivotal character. And Natalie Victoria as Marigold, which quickly became my favorite character in the whole feature.
She lit up the screen.
Awesome. She really did. And it had nothing to do with them tig old biddies. And
or the story at all.
Yeah. She was a breath of fresh air and a very... We'll get to it. Anyway... Go ahead, my friend.
I had one question for you.
Okay.
What did we just watch? I don't know what Last Shift is even about, man.
And I have photographic proof. I was drinking nothing but the H2O, so you can't blame that devil elixir on any of this. It was a mess, dude. It was one side note, though. One thing I wanted to mention is it was shot in Sanford, Florida. And as soon as I heard that, I think you and I had a collective kind of,
we both shivered.
It'd be like if somebody was like Lake County, Florida. It's like, get me out of that. Oh, no.
Why did they do this?
Yeah. Why did?
But yeah, I think the end credits, the last thing they show is thank you to the Florida. There's apparently a Floridian entertainment grant council thing that they just give money to people to make movies in Florida, and
it's like, please make movies here. My hometown in Ohio probably has something similar, because it's just please,
because no one wants to go. No one wants to go to Ohio. No one wants to go to the Central Florida. But guys, again, we can talk about this because we both lived in those places. I didn't live in Ohio, but I've flown over there.
Our parents have put a lot of tax money into the state. Excuse me just a second here. Sorry, y'all. This is I think I know the problem here. There we are. I got some vital height. Isn't that awesome?
Child Clay is gone.
Yes.
Man Clay has arrived.
Yes. Last Shift has killed the child Clay. Killed it dead.
So yeah, Last Shift. How did I think we just chose it out of like a random couple that you posted, right?
Yeah, I often go to Amazon Prime, and I'll just scroll through and find movies that are on Prime. That's first of all. Second, that aren't too long, because if it's going to be bad, it should be short. And and in full disclosure, we pick stuff often it looks like it could be entertaining, but also looks like we could riff on it a little bit. Otherwise, our whole shtick falls apart, to be honest. If it looks too good, We'll still watch it, but we kind of discuss that on the podcasty portion of the show.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I do. I just go through, see what's available and what looks watchable. I kind of knew that this one was going to be a fail before we even got into it, because if you go okay from the trailer, you know it's probably going to be a bit of a slog.
Yeah. Whenever I hear a descriptive of a lone person in some kind of area, place, venue that they're by themselves and it's an hour and a half, then you know you're going to be in for some kind of slow burn slog. And I don't think I've really had any kind of good experience with these kinds of movies. The person who's just by themselves, because they have
Yeah.
to really come up with some stuff to entertain you and come up with an ending that makes some kind of logical sense. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
any movie that's like that kind of spurred that on, or had something like that, something engaging about it.
Well, and pardon me. I didn't. The movie didn't occur to me until after we were done, but it was a very similar movie in a lot of ways. Was The Void, and I was really looking forward to The Void.
Oh yeah.
And I watched it, and I didn't like it, and then I gave it another chance and watched it again and didn't like it, and then I saw, Last Shift, which was very similar. I'm probably accidentally. They just happen to be very similar movies, and I
Yeah.
didn't like that one. So I don't.
Yeah.
It's. I think what it is it takes the audience right out of it. If it's like I'm in this place and weird stuff is happening, and especially in Last Shift, she
Yeah.
demonstrated that she could leave at any time she wanted to. You could walk right out that door. The doors weren't locked. There was no artificial "you're locked in" kind of scenario. It's like you right doors right there, like right there, you can go.
And I think you have to have a believable premise when you're doing
Yeah.
something like this. When you have to give a legitimate excuse or reason for a person to be at this place at this time, and it just starts off in a very unbelievable place where they want her. She's a rookie cop who's apparently only been on the squad maybe a year. And her backstory is that her father was on the squad. Her father and a bunch of people were killed by some Manson-like cult, the
Yeah.
Payman family. And so for some reason, she has the duties of guarding this police station that's shutting down. It's pretty much been cleared out. There's nothing in there but big piles of shit and some leftover evidence bags. And
Literally.
for some reason, they want to pull an actual officer of the law off the force, off the streets, and plop her right in there. And I think the only reason they gave was, oh, we've got so many people, men in blue or something that we can spare a couple. And when I think hiring just a
Yeah.
security guard would probably worked out even more. But yeah,
Oh, it
it
was
just
so
starts off
silly.
fair unbelievable right from the beginning.
Well, yeah, and I was basically she's I don't want to say that she's manning the 911 line, because the 911 line is not supposed to be routed there, but it still goes there anyway. So that's you can see that right from the trailer. Oh,
I mean,
word of warning.
it's not really the 911 line, but yeah, fair warning. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna throw out spoilers. So if you really want to watch Last Shift, I'm sure you can tell by our tone that we just loved it. So if you're worried about it being spoiled, watch it first, then come back here and give us lots of love and likes and subscribes. But yeah, like it takes place in an actual abandoned police station. They actually filmed it in this abandoned police station, and I think the mentality was like, ooh, it'll give it some vibe of being kind of like ghostly and rustic. But anyone that's lived in Florida and has seen an abandoned building, it's a moldy, awful shithole, and it's unconvincing as a place that was doing business within the last decade.
Yeah.
It's just in disrepair.
Yeah. I mean, I would even accept, you know, somewhat of a disrepair to this abandoned police station, but it was really just kind of a whitewash. The setting wasn't spectacular at all. It was a dull
No.
setting. There's not much visually going on with it, and that was another big problem with the movie. That usually you want these locations to be a character of their own. If you're going to put a
Yeah.
person into this kind of situation, a lone situation where this actor has to carry this entire fucking movie, at least give her an interesting location. And what we saw was her going back and forth between the cells to the front desk, back to the bathroom to the front desk. There was no real change in location that meant anything.
No, and we had just come off the heels of I'm blanking on the name, The Devil's Island,
Mm,
which in some ways was kind of a similar thing. It was a girl alone in a place, but if you're gonna the house that the girl was in The Devil's Island had a lot of character. There was a lot of bric-a-brac.
mhm.
The island itself had a lot of natural light. It was really beautiful. It was very interesting to look at. It wasn't by any kind of objective measure a good movie. This one definitely wasn't, but like you say, at least there was something to look at. This was like it was a building that if you were in, you would just want to leave because it's just gross. And it's
Yeah,
no one wants to be in a police station if it's operational. It's the last place
right.
you want to be.
Yeah, and then you just think of the whole premise of, I mean, just the first introductions to our lead character. What was her?
I forget her name. Let's just call her
Jessica
Officer.
or Lauren, Officer Lauren. I don't even think
That's
they
it.
said it. Yeah.
They,
So
yeah.
our introduction officer Lauren is she's on the phone with her mother in her car, and it seems like they have some kind of rough relationship or something, which is it's just fine. It's a little character background building. And then she goes into this abandoned police station. I'm sorry, not abandoned, it's being moved out of. But and then the officer that's there immediately starts yelling at her, "Stop! Stop!" And just
Turn
is
around.
turn around. Don't turn back. Just like it's like, first of all, that's immediate red flags. I don't give a shit, if you're a cop or a security guard, if your last person on that shift is yelling at you like that, you need to take a stand. I'm just saying.
Yeah, man. What's with like what happened to camaraderie between you fellow blue line assholes? Like, I guess that went out the window. It just
Yeah.
that was really odd because there was no reason for it. And I mean, like your first introduction to her boss is this grizzled old captain type character. Is G's just way over the line, verbally abusive for absolutely no reason. And you're just like, what the hell is this all about? It was confounding.
Yeah, and I know he's a character actor. I could have sworn I've seen him before.
We both joked that he looked like the old prospector. He was
Oh
definitely, if you need a
yeah.
prospector, he's your guy. He looks the part.
Yeah, but he just starts off so aggressive, and it's off-putting, and it's weird because why would you talk to someone like that? And that was just an odd choice. But again, we're jumping in this premise. It seems okay if we can just suspend our disbelief just a little bit. Maybe we can get through it. But then weird things, of course, start happening. She's it slowly builds up. You have to have your slow burn build up, and just weird shit starts happening. And I think her only expression on her face during the whole thing, when these weird hauntings were going on, was pretty much monotone. Maybe she
It's
would
just
just
bland indifference. I mean, I hate to shit on people's acting, but I don't think that they picked the right person to be the lead in this. She just did. She had absolutely no emotional reaction to things that were just bananas.
yeah, and I'm not sure. I haven't really seen her in anything else, so I can't really base her acting on anything else. But
Yeah.
I mean, I for me, what she did, it was okay, but it just seemed like this lack of reaction to some of these things are really horrific, kind of bloody zombie people popping up and these demonic images, and she's just like, hmm.
I Yeah, the look on my face, which if you're just listening, you can't see, but it's just kind of like, oh wow, that's concerning. Like the
Yeah, and so she's visited by all these demonic visitations. We learned, now we don't know what happened to her father and all that stuff at the beginning, but apparently this Charles Manson like gang family, and they're painting the words pigs and sow all over the police station too.
little on the nose.
Too on the nose, yeah, way on the nose. That we know Manson and his that family did the same thing, but they call this family the Payman family, and we know that if you're a fan of Hereditary, that there was a demon, King Payman, in Hereditary, and so I had to do a quick look up, and yes, it's based on the same demon, but actually Last Shift did it before Hereditary, so maybe it's the same universe of King Payman, but that Hereditary, just to let you know, the filmmakers and actors, this is the world you now share with last
Yes,
shift.
it's a shared universe, and I believe that from listening to a interview with the director. I listened to some YouTube interview with Anthony De Blasi, and the guy conducting the interview seemed like a nice guy. De Blasi seemed like a nice guy too. Like I kind of feel bad about disparaging other artists that are actually out there making art, but
Yeah.
as a viewer, it was hard to get through. But um, it seems like some of those themes carry over into his other movies. There's a kind of a death Manson-esque cult in his other movie as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just see what else did he do? He did a story or Dread. He did Dread. I've heard of Dread. I've heard of Malum. Another one called Grummy. That's a short though. But
Yeah, I haven't. This is the first one of his movies that I believe I've seen.
yeah, I've seen Malum. I think Malum is on Shutter, and then I've seen Dread around. So I mean, they're all getting like a good average rating of 5 stars out of 10, which is okay, I guess. If you want to hang around and watch the movie, but
I guess what bugged me about this one is we've seen it before, and the very premise makes you, okay, for one thing, okay, like one of the very first times we see the apparitions in this game. First of all, they look exactly like stuff you've seen before. It's a dude with a pentagram carved on his face, and the two women look exactly like Silent Hill characters. And I've never played those games, but I'm still familiar with them,
yeah,
like the nurses. And they did that thing that has been overused since the beginning of horror on film, is the herky jerky head camera movements that
yeah.
it's like, it's not scary, it's annoying. Like they're just shaking their heads back and forth real quickly. It's like this boilerplate thing that horror movies do, and the minute you see it, you're in for a piece of shit. It's not going to be scary.
Yeah, I mean, the main part of the story, even before she got what they were doing to try to keep her there at that police station. I saw whatever they're writing, and what she was doing. She wants to make her dad proud, for one. She doesn't want to give up on being a cop just because she's hearing a couple spooky things and seeing a couple spooky things. That's one of the things, because she tries to call up her supervisor, and the supervisor's like, "What? I'm out here dancing at the club. You're calling me up."
Sure you are.
Yeah,
Sure you
no,
are, old timer.
he wasn't really doing that, but he was complaining that she was calling him, and then I have a feeling she's going to say, "I'm going to quit," and then she just realized she wasn't going to do it. And then another thing was that, yeah, the just to make her dad proud, that to stay there. Also, the biometric or the bio cleaning crew was supposed to show up and clean up the bathrooms. Now, I don't know what happened in this police station, but the bathroom was covered in pure shit, and I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
what was the last thing these cops were doing before they left this police station? So they have a bio crew coming in later, late night. I think they said between 12 and 4 a.m. to come clean up
Yeah, that was
the
foreshadowed.
yeah. And I'm not sure if those cleanup crews actually go out that late. I figured the police would just like keep stuff closed off until working hours, and then they would come and clean. But
Yeah,
anyways,
like why do we need to clean this out in the wee small hours? That didn't make
especially
sense.
especially when it's an abandoned police. I keep saying abandoned. We know it's an abandoned police. It's a police station that's in the process of being cleared out. I mean, what's the rush in getting a bio crew there at the middle of the night to clean it? It didn't make a bit of sense either.
No, it was like, if that was the only thing, it wouldn't even be worth picking on the movie for. But it was one of a bunch of baffling decisions narratively that just took you way out of the movie. And it was full of these quote unquote scary apparitions that were dripping with gore and all oily and sweaty looking, and with the sharp teeth, but they weren't scary at
Yeah.
all. There's something about the pacing that you were just like, there wasn't even a jump scare. You know how jump scares are like the lowest level scare
Right.
that you can get. Going boo to somebody, your natural reaction is to flinch. Not one of those. Nothing. It was just kind of bad, because
Yeah.
it didn't even have the redeeming quality of being so bad that it's good. It was like, it was it was aware enough that it wanted to be a good movie that it was that much more bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there was just these side characters that came in. We have a homeless man that somehow gets into the police station and pisses all over the place, but he keeps getting back in the police station. How does he? We never established if he's a supernatural. I guess he gets killed later on, but it's why was he even there in the first place? And our dearest Marigold, who
Yeah,
was
dear Marigold.
who showed up, outside sitting on the dock, the loading dock. For some reason, the police station has a loading dock, but and she's just smoking a cigarette out there, and it looks like she's been beat all to hell. And she talks about hooking for a living and all this stuff, but that never went anywhere. It's like we don't know if she was is she some apparition that hangs around there. We kind of we just these characters don't mean anything to me.
No.
It felt like the homeless dude was going to come in later, but he just turned out to be another body, just at least one body to throw at the kill count, whatever. Just
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, De Blasi is a big fan of Clive Barker. I think he may have even worked on some projects with him. And like the homeless guy was obviously kind of a Clive Barker
like a
esque kind of character.
Hellraiser.
Yeah, like he
Yeah,
seemed very Hellraiser esque, but it was just pointless. And like the director and writers were obviously going for some kind of like some vagary around the plot, like, oh, everything isn't spelled out for you, but it just felt unwritten. It just
yeah,
felt like unsatisfying. Like there was no like what do these Manson cult people have to do with anything?
yeah.
Yeah, it was it wasn't very
I mean,
good.
yeah. If you're gonna give us and I've brought it up before in a previous podcast, but you look at Hereditary, and there's
Yeah,
some things you can that are open for interpretation in that movie, which is fine. You know why it's fine for that movie? Because there's little hints dropped everywhere. Things in the background, little things that you don't notice. You may not notice in the first watch. If you watch it again, though, you're like,
yeah,
oh shit, I missed that. That makes a lot more sense about what happens in the end. And that
yeah,
this
yeah.
this said none of that. So when we get to the end, the ending is pointless. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's starring a lead character. I if I was doing the casting for this movie, I would have had Marigold be the main character, and I would have swapped out actors. I mean,
Yeah.
like the who they picked for the leading lady had no charisma. She was pretty and she did her job, but she was just they gave you nothing to latch onto too as a
Yeah.
person. Like you said, they talking to her mom a little bit and a dead dad, but other than that's not really a character. That's facts. That's just trivia about the character. They gave you nothing to latch onto as a character. It was yeah.
Yeah, and when you think of like these situations where they know it's gonna be a low budget, you're gonna have this one person in this place by themselves. So what can we do to make this better? I think of the autopsy of Jane Doe. Have you seen that?
It sounds familiar. Yeah,
It's
it should have stuck more, but
yeah, it's available for streaming, I think, on Shutter or anything. But it's one of those where again, it's a lone person doing an autopsy on a body, and it's an hour or more, an hour and a half, but it's creepy. It has a certain vibe about it, and then they're slowly revealing this lore. And by the end, it's batshit crazy, and it's good. And I had a really good time. And I'm not going to say it's the best movie in the world, but it was one of those lone by themselves, low budget that it works. It just worked. Um,
well,
so
I
by
mean,
the end,
maybe
well, yeah,
go
go ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, we can jump, delving into the ending of this. Everybody, by the time the ending of this movie comes up, she's seeing hallucinations, or she's seeing horrible monsters and demons. She sees this family of paymen somehow still haunting this police station, and then she's chasing these family members around with her gun, and she finally kills all the family members who are trying to kill her, and then her hallucinate. It's actually one big hallucination she's having, and she's killed the whole bio crew that's there to clean up the place. And then she gets shot by her supervisor, who just happens to show up for some reason. So
Yeah,
that's
it was
the end.
established that he didn't want to come. It was, yeah. We were trying to figure out. What's funny is we were like convinced that we had it figured out mid movie, and
Yeah, we were trying to say, hey, if this is, oh, she's probably dead. She was probably part of that raid on the Payman Ranch, and she was killed there, and so she's only going back to the place that she knows as when she was alive. And I thought even if it had like that Sixth Sense kind of ending. By the way, spoilers on the Sixth Sense, guys. It's only been 20 fucking years, but more than that. But yeah, even if it had that kind of ending, I think I would have appreciated more. I would have moaned and been like, "Oh yeah, we know it," but at least it would have made some kind of sense after all
yeah.
the shit she went through.
Or if they had, since it turned out that it was like a hallucinatory type of thing, maybe it would have made more sense that, like, oh yeah, like I've been battling these demons in my head my whole life. That could have been the reason why she didn't run screaming from the place when she
Right,
started to see ghoulish monsters everywhere. That it would have made some kind of sense that, oh yeah, I see monsters all the time because
right.
I'm mentally ill. But no, nothing like that. It was just this ambiguous, um unsatisfying, like it was one of those movies where you just kind of get mad because you're just waiting for it to end. I hate that, and the older I get, the less time I have for that kind of shit.
Yeah, and I keep thinking if they had put in some kind of thing, maybe this. Again, this is us rewriting scripts, which is kind of, we can look back after the fact and do this. But if this was something where there's some kind of biotoxic leak in the bathroom or somewhere in the police station, and they set something up in that kind of framework, and then them coming to clean that up in the middle of the night is kind of makes a lot of sense, because you want to get a toxic spill up as quick as possible. Maybe they thought they had it contained, and there's like a little bit leaking, and she's the only one there, so she freaks out, and then it freaks out and ends in violence like the way it does. But it doesn't allude to any of that. There's no
No,
necessary leak. You don't, like you said before, it doesn't seem like there's an allusion to mental illness at all.
there's no
It's
thing. There's no point. There's just
yeah,
nothing for the audience to hold to grab onto, and like the stuff that it's trying to present as the payoff doesn't work. It's like a comedy where every single joke falls flat. Like none of the scares land. Not a single one. There was, like, the poop, even all the poop all over the walls should have been like, ugh, gross. Like,
yeah,
remember the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake with Jessica Biel back in
yeah,
the day?
oh
That
yeah,
one worked because all the gross out stuff, like all the flies on all the detritus everywhere, that worked. It was unsettling, cringy, and effective. There was nothing about that kind of like to get under your skin. It was just, you know.
yeah. And it's a shame, because with some of these movies, it's like you see like a glimmer of hope maybe, and that, oh, they're doing something kind of interesting here. I wonder where they're gonna go. And I'm not going to say that I didn't find some parts of the movie interesting. I thought they did some good things with the special effects. And then but then I was really let down by the cast of characters we see that don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And the ending just, it made no sense in the context and the framework of the story. And she gets killed because she thought the bio dudes were demons. So what was the point of the demons? Why were the demons possessing her? Why weren't the demons possessing, the other cop that was there? Was the other cop possessed when he came in and shot her? I don't think so, because she just shot like 4 people. So he's probably shooting her to, stop her. But it made no sense. And I think that was the most aggravating, angering thing about the movie.
Ambiguity for ambiguity's sake. It was.
Right. And then we're comparing it to Leave, because I think that at this point in time we're like, okay, we know Leave was our most hated. Where do we rate this? And in accordance with Leave, because both endings were kind of nonsensical. They introduced things that were kind of dumb. Um, but
Leave had a better cast of characters, I'd say.
Leave had a better cast of characters, had a better scene. I mean, had beautiful scenery at least, and
Yeah.
um, so I'm gonna put the Last Shift at the bottom of our list right now. Yeah, it's gonna be right under
Yes.
Leave.
And you know what's funny is I was thinking about this, like people, anyone that's bothered to watch our content would be like, "Oh, come on, you guys have watched way worse movies, objectively." But it's, I don't know. That's one of the fun kind of thing about horror movies is that horror fans have very visceral reactions to movies. Like, and
Yeah,
if you're watching it and you're muscling through it and you're not liking it, it just makes you madder and madder. It's like,
yeah, and there are movies that I this is a movie that if I had been sitting by myself and tried to start, I would not have finished it. Most definitely. Um, Leave, Leave, I may have finished it on my own, but that's only because I was with the expectation that hey, there might be some more black metal in this movie. So I was spurred on by other influences on that one. So yeah, the Last Shift now is now the bottom of the barrel for me. What about
yes.
you?
Oh, I think it's recently with since we've gone to YouTube, it's down there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I I know that there was effort put into it. I think it's really one thing I will say is that I think it's very hard to make a movie. And I think that a lot of times you think you have a lot of good stuff in camera and the dailies probably look great, but then when you put it all together it just doesn't gel.
yeah,
And you can't go back and reshoot it. It's that ship has sailed. All the
yeah.
actors are off doing better movies. So
I just wonder sometimes with the scripts, and because we know that movies get a first draft, and then there's like rewrites upon rewrites, and it's tightening. When you see some of the best movies you've ever seen, that's because those scripts have been through some rewrites. It's tightening up the story, it's getting rid of the detritus out of it, and
yeah.
you're getting a fine refined script. That's what makes the great movies the great ones. But then I think like our low budget horror makers, filmmakers, not just horror makers, horror filmmakers, but filmmakers in general, independent or whatever. Um, I'm not sure if they get that other set of eyes on that script
Probably not.
where
It's well, this was written. Okay, it was written by two people, and
yeah,
so I kind of wonder if they weren't critical enough of each other's work, and they and you bring up a good point. I kind of wonder how many scripts these days, like within the past maybe 10, 15 years, are that good to read. I wonder how many of them just are page turners
mm-hmm.
as a written piece
Yeah,
because well, and that's a whole other thing. It can I'm sure plenty of great scripts have turned into movies, and there's probably in the hands of a competent director, a so-so script could probably get a little bit better, but I
yeah,
think it's probably rare. I think that the script probably has to be the fundament that's all built on.
yeah, yeah. I may have something to do with just even at the low budget filmmaking level, there are yes men and people
Yeah,
that you show your stuff to and that don't give any kind of critical feedback or critiques. So, that's what's fun about being a musician is that we put our stuff out there for the public, and then the public comes back and says this is bullshit. and
yeah. This well, I'm sure it's the same way for filmmakers. Like
but
they've got to listen to two assholes if they find this talk about their movie.
yeah, I mean, I say that, but I know I've argued. Maybe they've had arguments with themselves because I know my bandmates and I have had arguments. No, we don't want to use this stuff. I don't want to fucking put this shit in. It sounds awful, or you're criticizing each other. The
Yeah.
the old Spider-Man pointing at each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
This is your fault. This is who are you? but so
Well,
that may take place too. So
it could. I don't like, and I'll be honest, I don't know every bit of the like the dynamics behind making a film with a band. It's a little bit probably a little bit more insular. It's kind of like, especially with what you guys did with the metal band. You're already kind of broken your niche down that
yeah,
much tighter. If everybody in the band isn't really happy with the output, there's literally no reason to be doing it. It's
right, yeah,
not it it's often not this big money making endeavor. It's a lot of pain and heartache to go out there and play that in front of people. It's
Yeah.
just it's asking a lot. So if you're not super proud of what you put out there, to me, it would feel like there's no reason to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what some of these filmmakers do too, you know? And they just,
I imagine. I mean,
the pain of, I can only imagine a filmmaker saying, "Oh, man, I really created a piece of shit here, but I'm not going to can it just because there's some faults in it. I'm gonna put it out there anyways." So, I don't.
oh yeah, or you're halfway through it and you realize that we don't have the budget or the time or just the it's impossible to recast this person that's ruining my movie. I'm not saying this one specifically. I'm talking more generally, but
Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah. Well, that was Last Shift. Obviously, we love
last
this
shift.
movie. I give it, 5 thumbs way up.
It was chilling. It was thrilling.
It was a thrill ride and full of gore and horror and no, it was
Ambiguity.
ambiguity. Yeah, a lot of ambiguity. But yeah, it was dissatisfying for me. But
Yeah.
am I? How about this? This is the question of the ages, Clay. Could you have gone through life, on your deathbed, and I come up to you and ask, Clay, do you remember when we saw Last Shift? Could you have died without watching it, or could you have said fuck this film?
I probably would have just filled my pants and then laughed at you and made eye contact and enjoyed how upset you looked as you saw me void my bowels, which has nothing to do with last shift. I just think that's a good memory.
That would technically be your last shit.
That's right. Ew, woo!
Cue the audience. Okay. Anyways.
Hooray! Maybe you can put some balloons and confetti falling down.
But yeah, there it is. There
That's
it
it.
is. Last Shift. I guess
Nah.
some things, some wrap up details here. I'm going to be going on vacation on the 30th, and I won't be back till the 10th. So Clay will be holding down. This will be the next episode coming out. This will be last of me for at least a week or week and a half. So, Clay, you're going to be holding down the fort for a little bit.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning that. I've got my I got my good friend Tony Salvaggio, who's known Tony forever. He's big, like into the geek culture thing, big contributor. Worked in video games, worked in like worked in the movie business on some level and worked in fiction. The guy is a real sweet guy, cool dude, and you're going to enjoy him being the co-host for episode 3 of Bits and Chunks. We got that planned. I'm still doing the Alien Isolation stuff, and if I need to bring out a little update here or there to just say hi to everybody, I'll do that too. So you guys will hear from us, and we're looking forward to hearing all about your trip once you get back and seeing how you enjoyed the mighty Iron Maiden. That's going to be awesome.
3 dates in England seeing Iron Maiden, and I'm actually really looking forward to hearing your episode of Bits and Chunks with Tony too. So
oh yeah,
I'm sure it's going to be really awesome.
And we got some other good surprises coming up in the woodwork and in the planning stages for once Jason gets back and rested from his vacation. We got the next movie we plan to do after that is going to be one where we sit down and write out the riffs more. So we're going to do another one of those similar to what we did for Devil's Island. And so we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
Yep, absolutely. I can't wait to do that. Do we want to plug what next movie we're planning to do, or should we hold back?
Let's hold back.
All right, let's hold back.
It's a special occasion.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for sticking through this entire video, this entire podcast. We are Cinematic Zephyr, and I'm Jason. That's Clay. And until next time, we need an outro, something like a word up or.
Don't poop all over the walls. No, that's terrible.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that, guys. Don't poop all over the walls.
That's it.
All right. Good night.
Later.
Bye.